and welcome back to Added Time, your favourite women's football podcast. Hopefully. I'm Abbie McCarthy, and I'm joined, as ever, by two people who light it up on the pitch and bring so much insight to the mic. Hello to Fran Kirby and Beth England. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, Fran?
Good, thank you. Plodding by. Happy to get back on the pitch the other day, which was nice, even though it was a bit of a chaotic game when I came into it, but happy to be back on the pitch and playing.
Yes, and we are always happy to see you. How's our superstar striker, Beth?
Woo-woo!
Woo-woo!
Yeah, she's good, thank you. Feeling a bit sore today. It was a long old game. But yeah, no, I'm all good, thank you. How are you doing, actually? You always ask us, how are you doing?
Yeah, come on, hit us with it.
I've had a great week. Got to have a bit of time off the other day, and I went to a little pig sanctuary, and loads of little piglets were just on my legs having a sleep and having a cuddle.
Where is this?
You must go. You must go. It's called Kew Little Pigs.
Was it like near Kew Gardens?
Yes, exactly. So we must go.
Done.
Maybe we'll do a pod outing at some point. But you guys have been doing some wonderful things off the pitch this week. Fran, talk to us about your day with Stand Up to Cancer.
Really fun, really enjoyable, and it's just such a good cause as well. You know, I went down to the O2. It was me, Tash Dowie and Farrah Williams, so two players who I played alongside many years ago now. And yeah, it was really enjoyable. We turned up and they were like, okay, so we've got a challenge for you and we want you to get these balls into these buckets. And we were like, okay, cool, no problem. And we want you to kick it. And I was like, wait a second. Like, I know that we're footballers, but I'm not kicking a tennis ball into a tiny little, and then a ping pong ball into a tiny little cup. So we were like, we need to come up with something else here. So then we agreed we were going to throw it. And then, yeah, I mean, every time we got one in the bucket, we got £100 for Stand Up to Cancer. So we managed to get £300 in that one. And we had another little challenge, but we weren't very good at that one. So we're not going to talk about that one on the pod here. But no, it's always nice to get involved in these kind of things, because obviously, you know, everyone sees us as a footballer and sees us kind of just living that life, but it's always nice to do something to kind of give back and raise awareness. And I always say, like, if you have a profile, you should use it for the good, and whether that's like for your friends or for people to raise awareness for charities or whatever, I think it's always really important. So it was good fun. I managed to get 2 of the buckets in, so I was very, very happy. I was stressing in the first bit, because for me, if I'm not good at something, I very quickly want to stop that exercise. Like, I don't want to keep doing it. Took a lot of willpower, and literally I missed like the first like 2 shots on the bucket. I was like, that's it, I've had enough. I'm not playing this game anymore. So I was proud of my resilience to keep going.
Yeah, the clip that I saw, you were like, I'm already getting angry. And I can't take that competitive edge out of Fran Kirby. It's always there, always and forever. But yeah, well done to you and the rest of the gang as well. Beth, you popped into a local care home and I saw a really like wholesome video all about that. That must have just been such a lovely day.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. With the Spurs Foundation, I've been asking for ages to want to go in a care home. I used to care for my grandma when I was younger, and it's always something that I enjoyed doing. And I've always been someone that just likes to help give back a little bit. And, you know, I do a lot of work with the dog charity, All Dogs Matter. And I thought, so, you know what, I can't live my life with dogs forever, so I do actually have to help the people. But yeah, so they did. Yeah, you know how much I love dogs. But no, it was an amazing trip. Do you know what? Actually, inside scoop, I was so annoyed because I've been asking for this for about 8 months. The day we finally get it sorted, like there's 5 of the girls going down. Who shows up at the training ground? Drugs testing. Who gets tested? Me. I'm always on the list for drugs testing, and I was so angry because it made me an hour late getting there, because all I wanted to do was just spend some time and spread some joy with these people. But like I said, I got there eventually. The girls did an amazing job joining in with activities, and they had mince pies, cups of tea, and got to know some of the residents. And I stumbled across a number 1 fan, I think, in a lady called Patricia, and she'd made some artwork for us, which we've now got proudly hanging in our changing room. So it was a very, very wholesome day. Hopefully going to go back again and just do what we can, because I think it was quite sad listening to some of the statistics of older people being left in care homes without any visits or anyone around them around Christmas time, and it just breaks your heart. So as Fran said, like if you can help out and you're in a position to do so, then definitely should, especially this time of year as well.
Yeah, Absolutely. Well done to you. And hopefully you put Patricia onto the podcast. I hope so.
Oh, she was loving it. Apparently, it was so awkward because all the other girls were there, introduced themselves. I didn't know this until afterwards, and she was like, "So where's Bethany England then?" Basically, and I felt awful for the other girls, but oh, she was an absolute babe, and yeah, they made some good friends that day. I think with the residents, it was great.
Oh, love it. Well, shout out to Patricia. And to discuss on the show this week, a shock result, title implications, tough injury news, but some players returning as well. So let's dig into that all right about now. And you know what, guys? I think maybe we can see the future because on the last pod, we did predict some upsets, didn't we? They said there was going to be some surprises, and there definitely were. One of which was Chelsea losing to Everton. Chelsea's unbeaten run in the league since May 2024 coming to an end, finally, which I'm sure some people will be happy about. I'm holding back tears, I'll be honest with you. But this is huge, isn't it, for the title race? Crazy news.
They were always going to lose at some point. It's an incredible achievement, absolutely incredible in terms of how long the team has been able to go unbeaten for, the tough moments that they've had, but been able to kind of get that win or get that draw. And it just looked a little bit like the other night that their luck had just completely ran out. Because I think if you were watching the game, you're watching it going, how have Chelsea not got back into this game? How have they not scored? How have they not won it with the chances that they did create, hitting the post, hitting the crossbar, all of these things? But I think it's a massive credit to Everton, even though I do feel, especially in the second half, if they had had a bit more quality, they could have probably punished Chelsea a couple more times. But I think they were just so focused on keeping a clean sheet, putting bodies on the line to stop the ball going in their own net. And yeah, I mean, it's a massive loss for Chelsea in the respect of it's against a team that's not competing with them for the title. And when you lose them games, it makes it very interesting when you do then play a team who is competing for the title, you have to win it. You can't draw, you can't lose. So when they come up against the likes of Man City, Arsenal, even Man United again, there's a lot more pressure on them games because they've dropped points to someone who's not in the title race. So yeah, I mean, obviously a massive congrats to Chelsea in terms of how long they've been able to keep hold of this record and keep going and keep producing. It was always going to come to an end at some point. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the Chelsea fans and Chelsea players would have liked that, like I said, to come against a title competitor. But fair play to Everton. I thought that they defended extremely well. And obviously, Courtney Brosnan as well was on absolute fire.
Yeah, like you say, Everton all out with the defending, some great saves, some off the line clearances. And as much as I hate to say it, I do think, yeah, maybe a loss was coming for Chelsea. A few draws recently, maybe not as clinical up front. What do we think are the things that Chelsea are struggling with at the moment?
It's a tough one because you look at the calibre of players they've got and you're thinking you've just got world class written everywhere. Obviously, you're seeing Lauren James start the game, which obviously everyone loves seeing. You're thinking, here she goes, she's going to create some magic. Some days it's just not your day, and I think, and I know it sounds bad to say it, but I think they needed this loss to have a bit of a kick up the backside because I feel like they've not been coasting, but they've been getting by enough times where their luck's finally run out. And as Fran touched on then, obviously Courtney Brosnan had the game of her life. Ruben Mace put in an unbelievable shift. And it's like all those players that were defending for their lives have just taken 3 huge points off the champions that have been champions for a very long time and dominated the WSL. So how much they've milked that win, I mean, I think anyone else would be the same. Or you all must have seen it all. So I think there's clearly something not clicking for them, which is mad because they've got so many goal scorers. And we've seen in previous games, they don't just win like the odd 1-0. Sometimes they do win 3, 4, 5-0. But those players seem to be hitting the goal at the minute. And I think we touched on it last time where I said you come back from international, everyone's been playing away with their national teams, different style football, trying to get everyone gelling. Yes, they've had injuries, but so has every other team. And the striker front, obviously you've got Aggie, you've got Kat McCarthy that can play there. Obviously Myra Ramirez is still out. Sam came on the pitch, had a few chances. For me, they looked like they were trying to rush the ball in the net, which is why it probably wasn't coming off. Whereas in times before, you know, Chelsea are so dominant with the ball, they're patient, they'll keep the ball, move it and circulate it in and around the 18-yard box, maybe create a half chance of a free kick, a set piece that they could capitalise on. But like they hit every bit of woodwork, but it just wasn't seem to be going in. But I think it's because they were trying to force it almost too much. But yeah, I think it'll be a big wake up call for them, because that gap now between first and second has opened up a lot, and they're not going to be happy about it at all. I guess away from the game, it's hard to see obviously the amount of online abuse you've seen that Sonia's been receiving and everything else. Like this team is a team that's dominated for a very long time, and to warrant the amount of abuse they've had, I can't imagine as sat very well with any of them, and will effectively play a part in affecting them going into the game, whether that is the manager or the team. They obviously were missing the likes of Erin with her concussion, who I think is a big player for them in terms of, like we've said before, she does the dirty work. She kind of goes under the radar a little bit. So I do think they missed that, I guess, that bit of fight and tenacity in that midfield area at times in the game. But yeah, it was a shock to everyone, but it also was a long time coming, I think, and the wake-up call they needed.
Watching the game, I think what you said is completely correct in terms of, I was watching the game and I was watching Lauren James, for example, and that is someone who you want to be picking the ball up around the edge of the box because she's so dangerous. She was coming into the number 6 line to pick up the ball because the ball wasn't getting through to her. And it's great because we know that Lauren can look after the ball and she can do all these things, but you want her in and around the box. You want her pulling the trigger. You want her to feed them 1-2s and get in and around it. But to me, it just looks like they're lacking a little bit of creativity, that little bit of magic that she can bring if she's in and around that box. So I understand why Lauren goes deep to get the ball, because she wants to get on the ball, because she's not being provided the ball elsewhere. But they have to find a way where they can keep her in them pockets that teams will eventually leave, even though they are going to be sitting in a low block. But someone like Lauren, if you're sitting in a low block, she will find that bit of magic. She will find that pass to just slide someone through. And I think if Sam had come on 10 minutes earlier and she had more chances, I mean, she did have some chances in the game, but if you have her for 10 minutes earlier, she probably gets another 5 chances. Probably one of them ends up in the back of the net. So I do think her coming on was a bit too late, even though she did, have some chances in the game. But you've got to get people in a flow, in a rhythm. You've got to play your best players with the best players. So you've got to play Sam with someone who's going to find her in them moments again and again and again, not just once. It has to come again and again. And I think Lauren is someone who can provide that for her if she's in and around the edge of the box instead of coming so low to get the ball.
But you're talking about the quality, and everyone saw Sonia going absolutely ballistic at Sandy Baltimore because 2 corners in a row. You're hitting the side netting. Those are key moments in a game where if you're chasing, you need that delivery to be spot on. And it's not all just on like Sandy not delivering those 2 corners, but like those are big moments where you've got the likes of Sam Kirby in the box, who was profound at heading a ball. And you think if you can get that delivery right, that's another reason why you're not dropping those points. I think you could see all by Sonia's reaction that it didn't take anyone to speak French to know how angry she was. Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, Fran. Like, the quality has to get in there because we know the players can find the net. It's just making sure that they get the service as well.
A really interesting point I was going to say about the rhythm, because I think from what I've seen online, lots of Chelsea fans are talking about the amount of rotation in the squad this season, several changes in the back line. Seems like Sonia Bompasta may be trying to work out what are the best combinations. And obviously, it's great to rotate, isn't it? Especially if you've got a squad like Chelsea's for freshness. But then the flip side of that is there isn't always that chemistry on the pitch, is there? Those really solid partnerships where you can almost read what the other players are doing because you haven't actually played loads together. Like, how does that feel as a player?
It's really important. It's really, really important. And I understand the rotation element because they have so many games. So she obviously doesn't want to kill her players because they have another game. Then they have another game on Sunday, another game midweek, another game on the weekend. So I completely understand why she's rotating. But at some point, she has to find her best 11. She has to find the 11 that's going to start and the 3 probably that's going to come in. Because also you're looking at the likes of, you're rotating so much, you're then playing players who don't play regularly, who can't perform because they don't have the match fitness, because they don't have the rhythm. They're not playing all the time with the same player. 1 minute, Ellie Carpenter's playing with Johanna Radicanarid, then she's playing with whoever else is coming into that moment. So you have to find the relationships and make it work. It's the problem when you have such a big squad of such talented players, because you're not going to please everyone. You know, I remember my last year at Chelsea, you know, I didn't play as much as I would like and I hated it. It wasn't fun. It wasn't, you know, but I turned up every day and I did my job. But, you know, you go home, you're like, what else can I do to get into this team? But then you look around, you're like, there's just so many players. You can't keep everyone happy. And it's brutal to say. And obviously I experienced it and I didn't really enjoy it in terms of sitting on the bench. But it has to become about winning eventually. That is the elite sport moment of it. And it's going, this is my best team. This player I'm going to play because I believe right now that she's performing better than this player. And that's when you have to have them honest conversations with the other players as well and say, look, my hands are tied at the moment. My gut feeling is telling me that this player is outperforming you right now. It's not helpful for you. It's not going to help you. But I really need you now to just grind every day because there's going to be a moment where I'm going to need you. There's going to be an injury. There's going to be a game that I need to just give people minutes to get them out on the pitch. And it's horrible. It's not nice. It's not a nice feeling knowing that you're that player. But when you also decide to sign for Chelsea, knowing that that is the situation, knowing that there's another 25 plus international players who should be starting probably in every other WSL team, you are accepting that this is a challenge for you and you're going to try and do your best at it, but it might not actually be right for you in terms of for you to play at the moment. But Sonia has to make them decisions because, you know, if you go further in the Champions League, you go further in the FA Cup, you need to know what your best 11 is, plus 3 that you're going to bring in. And also then players need to know that because as a player, you want that security as well. You want to feel that when you're playing well, you're getting rewarded for it, that, you know, you're not just going to get dropped because you don't score a goal in a game. It's, you know, it's all of the mental side as well, but you have to keep everyone on side. And I can imagine that's really, really tough in such a elite international environment.
Yeah, sounds an absolute nightmare. Thank God that is not my job. I'll tell you that for free. The title race, though, not looking too close anymore. Man City very much in the driver's seat, beating Leicester City 3-0 at the King Power Stadium. They're now 6 points clear at the top of the table. Like, this title's surely theirs. Or are
Look
you
at her downplaying it because she's a Chelsea fan. Look at her.
Embarrassing.
Do you still believe there could be, you know, an upset, someone switches off? Like, these things do still happen? Or do you think Man City will be sitting there thinking, yeah, this is pretty much done and dusted?
They've been in that situation before and they fumbled the bag at the very last game. They're sitting in a good position at the minute. There's still 2 more games before the winter break. Like, anything can happen in those games. Like, you could have injuries, you could have illness where your key players aren't firing. Then you've got Christmas break, which means people are obviously going to be travelling. A lot of international players going to be travelling home, whether they've got off-season programmes to do, come back in. Again, it's finding that rhythm. I think City are the team to beat at the minute. They are looking very, very sharp and firing on all cylinders, like from front to back. But they would know better now than to sit here thinking they've already got this in the bag, because we've seen the unthinkable happen before and there's no reason why it couldn't happen again. It's 6 points, that's 2 games. Any team could lose 2 games and any team could pick up those points. So I think it would be very, very, very naive and stupid of City to think that they've already got this for the win.
Okay, that's made me feel reassured as well. Thank God. Brilliant performance from Bunny Shaw at the weekend as well, bringing the goals as ever. She scored a hat-trick for Jamaica on the international break. Missed a couple of chances at the start of this game for City though, but eventually capitalised, as she always does, scoring twice and then that unreal through ball to Kerolin for the final goal as well. I mean, she's one of the very best in the WSL, isn't she, if not the world?
Yeah, look, she is someone that she's just fully firing. And I think you're seeing a bit of like a comeback tour from last season in terms of when she got injured, you could see how much it really affected Man City in the way that they played and their performances and their results. So I'm kind of seeing this as like oh, did you think I was gone? Did you think that I wasn't coming back? Kind of attitude in terms of having that little bit of arrogance on the pitch of kind of like, well, you know I'm going to get the chances and I know I'm going to score. And the thing with the likes of Man City, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Arsenal, as a number 9, you're guaranteed goals. You should be guaranteed goals because you can miss chances. You can miss 5 chances in the first half, but you know your team is going to produce chances for you again and again and again. And, you know, she's in a team full of people who can produce, moments of magic. And you can see now even Hasegawa is getting a little bit more involved going forward. She was always the playmaker before, but now you can see that she's progressing up the pitch, which obviously she's been given the license to by the manager. And yeah, when you've got someone like Bunny Shaw in your team, you know that she's going to score a goal, whether it's 1 goal, whether it's 2 goals, whether she gets an assist. And obviously them getting Carolyn back, it's frightening, the pace on her, on Lauren Hemp. They're looking very, very strong. And I think they're looking strong as well as losing Alex Greenwood, which I think was a big loss for them in terms of her leadership and what she brings to them. But you can see that they're still solid, which was another one probably that they missed a lot last season. So, that they're showing now that they can handle losing players and being able to step up. But as Beth said, they shouldn't be sitting there thinking that this is done, because it's nowhere near done. You slip up once against a team that you shouldn't slip up against, and then you're looking at that you've got to play Chelsea again. It gets a little bit iffy. So I'm pretty sure they'll be thinking full steam ahead now. We've got to keep going and hope that Chelsea drop points elsewhere as well, which also can happen. It's not nice to lose a game and then you're going into the next game with probably a little bit of, if we lose this one, it's a little bit more dangerous as well. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on both teams at the moment in terms of to keep them winning streaks going. But at the moment with Bunny Shaw and even Miedemar looks like she's finding form again. She looks like she's getting fit. She looks like, enjoying herself and the role that she has. So yeah, City look very, very dangerous.
Yeah, it's the best their squad has looked in a while, I think. And let's give Carolyn her flowers as well. Changed the game off the bench, I thought. Good footwork from her and looking really sharp after some time away as well. I think she's a brilliant player. That's going to be a huge boost for them.
Yeah, massive boost. As Fran touched upon, you've got all them players around her that's going to feed her. But, she's got that individual brilliance. She's got the pace. She's got the intelligence, I would say, the football IQ, which is actually... When you come to this league, not everyone, I don't think the people realise how difficult this league is. They think, oh yeah, it's the WSL, but it's actually really tough. And I think when you've got a player like her who's come in and just slotted in so quickly, but she's, like you say, she's learning off the best as well with Bunny, Viv, Lauren Hemp. She's always going to flourish. And I think now she's back fit, you give her more minutes and more game time, she's going to be a real horror for a lot of defenders in this league. And I'm sure, no doubt, a lot of goalkeepers as well.
Yeah, I love the phrase football IQ, because that's the thing, isn't it? There'll be players who are so talented or really technically gifted, got a lot of flair, a lot of passion for the game, but actually they don't really understand kind of the tactics of the game and that sort of thing. That is a totally different skill set, isn't it? And I was going to throw it to the two of you. Who is the person that you have had in your team that you would say has got the best kind of football IQ, the actual best kind of innate understanding of the game?
I would have said Ji So-yeon straight away is the first one that comes to my brain. She was a magician in that. She would see pictures you wouldn't even know were there. She'd draw her own pictures, and you just work around her art. That's how great she was.
She was always a player, and I tried to do it probably a little bit similar to her, but probably not at quite the same level. It's, she gives you the pass, basically telling you where to pass next. And I think that's such a big skill because, I could always pass the ball to someone as a way of, I'm in trouble, I'm going to lose the ball, so I'm going to give it to you and then see if you can do something with it. And I think that's how a lot of people play. They look up, they see the first run, they see the first person, and then they just pass it, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. It's and I think in women's football as well, I think we struggle a bit to see the next picture. Whereas I think G just knew the next picture. She'd pass it to you at soft or strong for you to turn one touch, so you can hit it one touch. There was always something, like a bit of information with the pass, even though she doesn't have to say it. And I think when you have players like that in your team, it makes your whole team so much better. She'll stand there, pass the ball, tell me where to pass, and then she'll tell the next person where to pass the ball. And I'm like, you haven't been involved in 5 passes, but you know where we should go next. And it's such a skill to be able to do that, because you can basically dictate and coach the team with the way that you play. And she did that all the time.
Yeah, that's magic, isn't it? Almost like a few seconds ahead of everyone at all points. And some of her set pieces and free kicks she used to pull out.
She loved the late minute free kick.
Yeah,
she loved it.
All right, back to the games at the weekend. Arsenal played Liverpool. And I was wondering if there was maybe going to be a slip up from Arsenal. 20 of their players were away on international duty. And we spoke about that last week, didn't we? The effect that can have. But they did get the job done. They had some moments where I thought they did struggle, though.
I would say so. I think they were fortunate, to be honest, in a way, because you're looking at, again, Liverpool. It's a hard one because, like, we've both played them now, Fran, and we know how good of a team they are. And it's just finding that final piece of their puzzle. And yeah, they managed to get their goal, but I'm looking at them and I'm thinking they actually play some really good football. And at times, if they'd just taken care of that little bit more of the ball, they could have hurt Arsenal so much. And I feel like Arsenal was thrown a lifeline. Obviously, I think the biggest talking point is Leah Smith scoring against the former side. You're thinking, like, if it had to be anyone, it had to be a worldie. And then you're looking at the game, and whether this is right or wrong, say you're thinking, Liverpool, did you really need to spend all that transfer money on a manager? Or do you think you could have actually utilised that in some different ways to actually help strengthen the team? Because I've touched on it, they play some amazing football, but there's just no end product there at the minute for them, and they are sinking bad. And to spend that amount of money on a manager, and I don't get me wrong, I think Gareth Taylor's a good manager, but there's something that's not going right there until you've spent that amount of money on the management who's not getting you the results that you need. I think is putting some heavy question marks on Liverpool if they can't get something from their next two games going into the Christmas break.
Yeah, Liverpool under serious pressure for sure. That Olivia Smith goal, though, like you said, she's got like 4 players round her at one point. She just dribbles round them, just shrugs them off, drives forward, scores from distance. Just brilliant. What have you made of her so far in the Arsenal team, Fran?
She's a live wire. You can see when she's on the ball, you could see the defenders getting scared. And that's when you know that you're against a good player, right? You know that it's someone who's going to cause you problems, her pace. And it's not even just the pace, it's the pace she has with the ball as well, which, you know, the ball always slows you down. And whenever I try and talk to people about football, and they're like, yeah, but he's so fast or she's so fast. I'm like, yeah, without the ball. But as soon as you include the ball, it slows you down so much because you've got so many things to think about, your decision making, the touch here, touch there, and all of these things. But she just seems to just glide with the ball at her feet. And, you know, I was watching, you know, the moment when she scored, and I remember I was sitting there and I was like, if that happened to my team and no one just clips her and fouls her, when we've got that many players around, I'd be absolutely raging because I'm like, you know, in them moments, you've just got to take it. You know, you're not going to catch her. She's got past 2 or 3 of you. The next one, just clip her. Just clip her, kill the momentum, because you know as well she's going to shoot from distance. She's done it multiple times this season. You know she's going to take a strike. Yes, we can argue maybe the goalkeeper should do a little bit better. I don't think that it was a complete kind of, oh my God, worldie. I mean, I think on the first day of the season, she scored an absolute worldie. You're looking at that one, comparing to that one, you're going, okay, is it the same caliber? But I mean, if you don't shoot, you don't score. So for her driving in that moment, she's gone, right, I'm feeling confident. I've just beat 4 of your players. I'm just going to shoot from distance and see what happens. But yeah, I think she's definitely raised Arsenal's game. And I think, you know, when she came, everyone was like, okay, how's she going to fit in? But for me, she's probably the first name on the team sheet for them at the moment in terms of what she is producing and the goals she's scoring. You know, when you look at the other players that they have that should be scoring that aren't, you know, obviously Blackstenius getting a goal the other day, even though, you know, I was watching the game again, I'm like, offside, chance here, chance there. But I mean, she scored the hardest one out of the lot of them. So I'm like, fair play, great finish.
Yeah.
She does this.
Absolute worldie of a finish, and obviously doing it in the high pressure moment. But, you know, you're looking around and you're looking at the other girls, you know, it's just not many people contributing to the goals or the assists at the moment. And I think that's what Olivia Smith has given you, that directness, that drive, and the confidence to go, do you know what? I'm just going to take a shot and see what happens. And obviously, you know, she's scored a couple goals now, and she looks confident when she's playing.
Like you say, though, Blackstenius did score the most difficult one of all those chances to make Arsenal win the game. Arsenal 4th in the table now, just a point behind United, as are Spurs. Result much needed, I thought, after all those rumours of like unrest in the Arsenal dressing room. There was that deep dive article on The Athletic. What did you guys make of that? I'm sure you've been in teams where, you know, people have been speaking about you. There's always outside noise. How much do you really listen to those sorts of things? How true do you think something like that is?
I think it says a lot when the article's claiming players have gone to them, and it's not that they've gone and outsourced the information. So you think, what benefit would they get from lying from that? So it makes you think there's obviously truth in it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have come out. We've obviously seen Lotta Wubben Moy's statements, kind of almost disregarding it and inviting people in to see what it's like. But then that's all well and good, but anyone can put on a show when cameras are there. It's the ins and outs that you clearly don't see, which must go on in every club. I'm not saying every club's the same, but there's going to be people unhappy. There's going to be people feeling like they're not treated the way they want to be treated. But for this extent to go to a journalist and say what they've said, if true, may I say, I think is one, it's I would say it's really bold and courageous of them to speak up about, because I think clearly there's been a lot of silence for a long time and they've felt like, okay, this is actually the final straw now. We need to actually speak up, and hopefully by doing that it may create change. Whether that change just happens internally and away from everyone, we don't know. But it might just be the push over the edge that the internal side needed. But I think it's opened up a direct firing line to everyone else and every other team to say, there's weaknesses here and we're coming for you and we're going to find your Achilles heel and we're going to take it. Like I said, they had a bit of a lifeline on the weekend, and are they looking really that together? Are they looking that solid? So I think all it will take is one team, like I said, to find that Achilles heel on them, and I think it will cause some real big problems for them. But for, like I said, players to go to a journalist and say what they've said, I do think it is very bold and courageous of them. And I just hope that if it has happened and it remains anonymous, that they don't seek the repercussions of what they've potentially just done, because there's clearly a need for safety or welfare within that somewhere, that someone's saying this isn't okay. And I don't think anyone should be punished for speaking out on how they're being made to feel and how they're being treated. I respect that they've kind of gone about it in a way. They might have tried to reach out to the club to solve issues, and if that's not worked, this is the next best thing. So fair play to them. And like I said, I hope that it's not as bad as it read, because it makes me sad as a player to think that some of these players are being treated a type of way. Nobody wants that in a football club. I know myself as a captain, I wouldn't want any of my players to feel that type of way in my dressing room. It's just never been a thing. But I guess every environment's different. Everyone's got different leadership skills, leadership methods. And yeah, I just hope that whatever's going on there, everyone's mental health and safety and well-being is at the forefront of the article coming out.
Yeah, here. It's going to be interesting to almost see the lasting legacy of that article, because I guess in some ways it could actually make things more fractious, couldn't it? Or hopefully, like you were saying, actually it begins a conversation and it kind of brings the group together in the end. So we will see how that all plays out.
How does it change the team dynamic? Because I think, you're reading this article and you're reading about how we don't know how many players are feeling this way either. It could be 1, it could be 6, it could be however many. So we don't know the full extent of what they're feeling. And I agree with Beth in the sense of, they've obviously got to a point with this where, and I don't believe that they've just gone to a journalist and just said everything without trying to solve it in-house. I don't want to believe that, because I think there has been things in my career that I have gone and spoke about, and I remember a moment, I'm going to speak about it now because it's a little bit funny now, but I don't think it was very funny for the club at the time. And I remember when we were first at Chelsea, or not first, it was been a couple of years, and I remember our really hard days were a Thursday. So they kept saying to us, right, okay, we're going to have breakfast at the training ground for you. She's laughing now because she knows what's coming. So they were like, right, okay. So I can't even remember what they called them, Beth. What did they call Thursday? I can't remember. It was the hardest day of the week, basically.
Yeah.
And we had been complaining for a while about the breakfast at the training ground, because you keep telling us to fuel properly, to eat well, to be ready for training, for nutrition. And every time we came in, the bread was frozen, the eggs weren't cooked. They gave us porridge, but we had no access to hot water. So, it just wasn't giving us what we needed. I remember we had a meeting about it. I think we all in the team had a meeting with our head of performance about the food. And he said, right, okay, tomorrow is hard day. This wasn't the
Overload
first
day.
meeting. Overload
days,
day,
what
that's
they
what it
call
was, yeah. So, like, this isn't the first meeting we've had about food, right? And I'm not comparing food to their situation, but I'm just saying, like, as a reference in terms of you do try and do things in-house before you get to a point you're like, this isn't helping. So we get told we have overload day the next day, and they are gonna be providing a breakfast for us to go to overload day. So then I'm on my way in, and I actually think someone sent me a message. I can't remember who it was, because I don't think we had come in yet. So I got sent a message saying, stop off at somewhere on the way to have breakfast because the breakfast is awful. They actually messaged me to say, stop somewhere. And I remember messaging back saying, what's the issue kind of thing. And I wouldn't say I was a senior member of the team to get that kind of message and like someone's gone to me and gone, is there something you can do about this? So then I got to the training ground. So I decided to take a video of it and post it on my Instagram. And basically show the frozen bread, show the eggs that just were completely uncooked. It was meant to be boiled eggs, but that it just cracked as soon as you there was no way that we could have ate it. Like, it was no chance.
Really bad, yeah.
Yeah. It was like no one had breakfast. Like, literally went into an overload day without breakfast. Then we all kicked up a fuss about it again, basically saying, you've told us not to eat, da da da. I had completely forgot about that I'd posted this video, right? So I went about my day. I then posted like a picture of Cody asleep on the sofa or something. And then we came in the next day to the meeting and we had a full meeting. And then I remember just the screen coming up and it was a picture of Cody asleep. And I was like, oh, how cute's that? She's put up Cody asleep on the screen. And then it was obviously then the next one was the video that I had put that the club had obviously seen. And Emma was kind of like, this is not how we do things. You deal with it in the building, da 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 da. And then I had to go and have a meeting with her. And, I kind of explained the situation. I was like, look, we've done this so many times. I think it had been like 6 months. Like, it had been a long time that we were complaining about the food. And then the next day I get a text message as I'm coming into training ground. There's like a full-on fry-up at breakfast. So, like, I don't think that this has just happened, like, that they've just decided, right, I'm going to go to a journalist because I just want to get it out there. Because also as well, they've probably got friends in the team. And as a teammate and as a person, like Beth said, you would hate to think that people are feeling that way. And also, how does it feel when you walk back into that changing room as a group of players, looking at one another going, well, was it you? Was it you? Like, what are you feeling right now? But also maybe a sense of, let me help you. But if you are struggling, you need to come and tell us because we can help you. But I think the way the article was so kind of explosive, I don't think anyone would admit to it. Because I think they'd feel that there was, like Beth said, like a repercussion of what they've said and what they've done. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. But there are things that happen in-house that do not get solved in-house. And people find ways. And I'm not saying that I did it the right way. I think looking back now, I'm probably like, yeah, maybe shouldn't have. But I mean, we got good breakfast after that. So I'll take one for the team in that moment. Could have probably had my contract ripped up there and then. But, that was obviously however long ago. And now everyone is, gets the food they need or whatever. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how it unfolds and if anything else comes out off the back of this in terms of how maybe people have been treated. Sorry, I just went completely off topic, but I wanted to share that kind of experience with the listeners and probably Chelsea. I'm very happy about that still. But sorry, I'm very sorry. I was very young and very immature. But I mean, we still got good breakfast after that. So I'll take one for the team.
I love that. It's now known as the Fran Kirby fry-up at Chelsea. Potential drama aside, some good news for Arsenal fans is that Leah Williamson is back from injury. She was on the bench, obviously an incredible player and a leader in that side. You guys have played with Leah at England. Like, what does she bring to a team? What is she like as a teammate?
I would say she brings on almost a bit of like a calmness, an amazing long ball. She's I don't know how much her pace would have changed since her ACL. From what I gathered when I've played with her since, she's not slow to get on the turn. I think anyone coming back from long-term injuries can take them a little while to get back to their best. I think there was a few games where she may have been a little bit slower, but that is the case for every single person in that situation. I think she's obviously been out a lot over the last couple of the years. Obviously, she made it back in time. She missed the World Cup, but made it back in time for the following Euros. Lifted 2 back-to-back Euros as England captain, which isn't a bad seed. So I think she's going to be eager to get back out there. She probably didn't want the setback that she had. And I don't know exactly the ins and outs of the surgery she probably had to have in flushing out a knee, but it's not something anyone wants to do, is be going back under the knife knowing it's going to be a long rehab, that mental process of having to go through that again, albeit not the same amount of time, but it's still finding the mental strength to be able to get up every day and do it. But I think she will certainly bring, a lot more calmness. Again, I think someone who does have a footballing IQ, I know we've spoken about that a little bit, but she sees those longer passes. She's really good at punching through lines. And I think they could really do with her at the minute.
Yeah, I think as well, she just brings the standards, which sometimes you just need. You just need someone in there who's going to every day just be like, come on, let's go, let's go. And I think she's someone that does that. And she demands it from everyone. And maybe that's what, they've been lacking in terms of Kim Little has been out, she has been out, just having them people in the team that when things aren't going well, just give someone a kick up the backside, just to be like, come on, this is what we need to do and we need to win. And I think she has that. She has that kind of that competitiveness and that kind of drive to kind of bring the team forward.
Yeah, and the fact that their captain, Kim Little, is back as well. Amazing news. Such an important player. Let's go to your game with Spurs now, Beth, against Villa. And let's start with the good news. The brilliant goal from our Beth to get Spurs back level. That was proper striker's instinct, clever movement in the box. I think we're going to put that one down in the Beth England School of Finishing. That was good, that.
Oh, thank you. Stop it. You're too kind. No, I was stressed in that game, let me tell you, because Villa didn't start the season off very strongly, but they've started to pick up good points. They started to pick up form, and their front line is so dangerous with the pace and speed in which they transition. I was knackered. The amount of transitions in that game, because they are just end to end. You've got Kirsty Hansen, her goal in itself is just shows the pace in which she's got and the threat that she holds. So I think, it was a game where I felt like we had a lot of control, but they had better chances in the first half through our own mistakes, which was really frustrating because I'm like, I know how great we are. I know how much we can build and play through the lines. We looked like we were, and I don't mind saying this, literally at half time, I was like, we look scared to get on the ball. No one seems to want the ball and want to actually play forward. It was like, oh, well, what? You've got the ball, okay, I'll just see what you do with it, rather than actually dictating and what you want to do with it. And we were nowhere near first and second balls in the first half, but second half, I feel like whatever shift happened in people's brains, I felt like I spent 90 minutes just screaming at my team, come on, basically get your head out your arses a little bit, want it, you have to fight for it. And the fact that it took them going down to 10 players and conceding for us to finally get that rocket up our backside, I just remember that goal went in. I was losing my head at the halfway line. I was like, we are not losing to 10 players. This is not happening, categorically not happening. Lo and behold, 60 seconds later, got the equaliser, and I was like, we are winning this game no matter what. If I have to drag everyone through the trenches, we are winning this game. And Olivia's unbelievable finish. But I mean, for me, the ball from Drew Spence is just world class. Not if they almost, she loves a no look pass, doesn't she, Fran? We know what she's like. Almost looking like she's going that way, little slip through. I could have killed Ollie if she didn't finish it, because I was literally there, open and ready. Yeah, she finished it really cool, calm, collected, and could not have been happier with the points, because I would have lost my head even more. I probably would have started throwing stuff if we'd have lost that game.
Yeah, fair enough. Like you say, though, that pass from Drew Spence literally just cuts out 4 defenders with one pass. So good. And I also noticed when Villa went down to 10 players, they, like you say, started playing better. It sort of forced them to step up. And then obviously that was when the goal came from Hansen, who's always clinical, obviously. But let me in on a kind of player's perspective. Does having less players unlock more fight in you sometimes? Because you really have to kind of step up to the plate.
Yes and no. I think
Yeah.
it depends on the kind of the state of the game. But I mean, I think with the players that Villa have in terms of that front line and how fast they are, it's kind of they can still kind of play the way that they play even if they have one less, in a way, because they have that outlet. They still have one of their biggest strengths, basically. But I mean, I think defensively, it makes you very much more, we've got to stick together. Structurally, we've got to be very, very good because we are one player down. We're going to have to slog. And it will get to a point that when you've been playing with 10 players for however long, you're going to get tired. You're going to give away opportunities. You're going to switch off in one moment. For example, Drew Spencer's pass, the fullback gets too drawn out to the winger, switches off for a moment, boom, you're going in. You know, it's a fantastic pass, fantastic finish. But, you know, those are the moments where your legs are heavy, you've been working extremely hard, and those are the moments where it matters. So I would say yes and no. I think if you're defending, you know, like a 2-3-0 lead and you go down to 10, you're kind of like, yeah, we're fine. Like, we just need to be defensively solid. Whereas I think in our league, you don't really have that. You've got everyone who wants to win. So I don't know if it helps going down to 10 in them moments, but it just depends on the game.
Now on to the bad news. Another ACL injury, which is just awful to see, isn't it? Poor Jess Naz. A non-contact one as well, but it's one of those, as soon as she fell down, you could tell it was something serious. She looked in a lot of pain. Obviously just gutting to see, and it feels like we say this, we've said it on the pod a bunch of times, it's another ACL injury. But how is your teammate doing, Beth? Have you had a chance to check in with Jess?
Yeah, so obviously we found out as a team yesterday, and she was in today, and look, I'm in no position to sit here and know how she feels, because fortunately for myself, I've never had to go through that, and it's obviously her second one now, having gone from it before, and it's just heart-wrenching when any player goes down holding the knee. Straight away, you just dread it. I mean, I didn't see the foot. I was behind the defender, so I thought the defender had actually clipped her. And then when I've seen the footage back, and on the other side, she doesn't even touch her. As soon as she plants and turns, you just see it, and you're kind of like praying and praying. Oh, it could just be maybe MCL, which is still not great, but it's not as bad. But you never want to see that. And I think in a time like this, like, I mean, I think we've got 3 players now that have done like 2 ACLs in a row, and it's just like, how do you even begin to try and comfort them in knowing, like, they already know how long that road is ahead? Like, when your first one, you kind of think, I know it's going to be bad, but it really tests you. That second one of having to go through that, we talk about it all the time, the resilience, the mental strength, because half the time it's not the physical battle, it is the mental one. Yeah, like, obviously I spoke to her this morning. The team's going to get round her. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but she's got a lot of players in injury club at the minute, so she's got company to hopefully help her get through it, and be that soundboard for her and that bit of a pillar to help lift each other up on their dark days. Yeah, it's a massive blow, because she's had such a strong few years in. Well, obviously she's been in and out the England setup a little bit on the fringes, and getting her opportunities when she's coming. I felt like she's been really coming into form for us, doing a really good job so far. And look, it's just heartbreaking, no matter who it happens to. And we wish her all the best in her recovery, and we'll be there every step of the way for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Wishing her all the best. But I'm sure she's so happy to have the support and love from you guys. That will definitely help somewhat. Okay, the next game to chat through is Man United against West Ham. And this had some mega goals. Martinez's goal for West Ham, a sensational bicycle kick finish. You've got Janssen's fantastic free kick as well. What do we make of this game?
It's an interesting one because obviously we spoke about it on the pod before, kind of saying that West Ham will go there feeling a little bit like we can do something here with the international break, with, you know, United having to rotate so much with the games that they have. And I think people would have thought that United would have just walked all over them. You know, I think we all thought, United probably a little bit too strong, which of course they were in the end. But, West Ham as a team, they're really difficult to play against. They're not easy to play against. They will create chances. And, Martinez's goal is an absolutely incredible, like, to even think to do it in that moment against Man United, you're like, okay, fair play. And she is someone that she was in and out a little bit at the beginning of the season. I don't think she played consistently. And for me, she's one that they have to play consistently. She is the one, like you saw at the end of last season, the goals she was scoring, the contribution she was making to the team. They have to keep her in the team. And I mean, I don't know if it's a fitness issue. I don't know if it's, she picks up niggles here and there, which obviously can happen, but they need to have her in the team as much as possible because she is the one that's going to score goals for them and they need to score goals. And, you coming away nearly getting a draw against Man United. And I do think that the goalkeeper should have done a little bit better on Jansen's free kick. I think you can't get beat in that corner. Jansen is a fantastic free kick taker. I've seen her score some absolute worldy free kicks, by the way. Like, when she's in and around that area, you do not want her to have the ball. But I do think that the goalkeeper should have done better with that one. But yeah, I mean, I think it looks strong for West Ham in terms of you go away from home and you get a result, not a result like that, but kind of, you're not coming home going, we've just copped 3, 4, 5 against, a team that's pushing to win the league. So yeah, I'm excited to see what West Ham can do in the next few weeks. And I think as long as they can keep Martinez on the pitch scoring goals, they have a good chance of picking up some points and kind of pulling themselves up the table a little bit.
Yeah, like you say, Man United, you think maybe they would have scored a hell of a lot more goals because they had 22 shots, but it's another top side lacking that kind of complete edge up front, isn't it? What's going on in the WSL this season?
For me, honestly, I think you're seeing it because of these teams that are in Champions League. They're tired. These players have come off of a summer of the Euros, most of them, back into pre-season with maybe 1-2 weeks maximum rest in that. All through pre-season, tough games, some in earlier Champions League spots. And I think it's just catching up with them. And it's the business end of the year, like in terms of injuries always happen at this time of year because people are so fatigued. And I think the tiredness and we've touched on, obviously you can rotate as much as you want, but that can interrupt the flow of the game. And then you've got obviously like the fatigue element. I think they're starting to run out of steam a little bit now. And we've spoke about this many times on the pod where teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, City have been in these situations before, so they know what's to come. Whereas for Man United, this is a completely new experience for them to be in the competition this long. Champions League, how it's played has changed a little bit more, so you're having more games leading into Christmas, which adds more fatigue, more travel if you've got away games as well as home games. They've now got 4 games, sorry, in the next 2 weeks. And it's like the rest of the WSL have got 2 games. So they're playing an extra 108, 9, 18, 108 is my bad maths, 180 minutes of football plus that these other players aren't having to play, and they're having to find that in themselves to keep producing the same performances on much heavier legs. And I think as forwards, like we know, Fran, like if you're in a team where you're a high pressing team, that's a lot of running on your legs to be able to sustain for every 3 days, like in these games, and facing different types of opponents as well. And they're not going to face easy games. And it's just starting to show, I think, in terms of the lack of creativity. Yes, we're seeing them make 20 odd shots, whatever, but like the creativity is either not there or the clinicalness isn't there because of the fatigue, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is the point in the season, like you say, people are getting very, very tired. Okay, the last game to talk about, but by no means least, we move on to the London City Lionesses game against Brighton. And this is something I did get wrong on the pod last week because I said this was going to be a goal fest. It wasn't. Seike scored early and then that was that. But what was your assessment of the game, Fran?
Yeah, it was a weird one. It was a weird game. We started the game very, very well. We were really aggressive. We were playing out well. We kept the ball well. We scored. We then missed a penalty. And then it just kind of felt like the game changed in terms of we didn't have that control anymore. We made a couple of mistakes playing out from the back, and Nikita had a really good, strike on goal, which was a good save by our goalkeeper. And we did that a couple of times. It was getting a little bit nervy. Just felt like for the first 20 minutes of both halves, we were in control of the game. And then the rest of it, it looked like we panicked. And when we'd win the ball back, we would just kick it and give it back to them, and then they would come again. But I felt for them, they lacked a bit of like dynamic movements. They lacked a little bit of that sharpness of drawing a defender, going in behind. And, they have some really fast forwards. And I really expected a little bit more in terms of that threat, turning our back line, trying to make it difficult for us, playing in behind. I think Aslani is clearly their most creative player on the pitch. I think she's someone who they look for all the time, and I think it's warranted. I think she's a fantastic player, but they just need something more. They need something more that's going to help them to go forward. I mean, they've been very, very good from set pieces, which has got them a lot of goals so far. But I think from open play, they need a little bit more dynamic movements. I think just a little bit more of the movements where the defenders are constantly having to check their shoulders. I don't think they caused us many problems in terms of their movement in the box or anything like that. But I think we also defended very, very well. I think people were putting their bodies on the line. There was like last ditch tackles, headers. You know, we made it really difficult to beat us, which I think was really good. And I think if you had seen that game last year, we probably would have conceded. So there's definitely, you know, gains that we're making. And I think London City are a fantastic team. I think they just need a little bit more of that ruthlessness. Obviously, they have young players up front. They haven't quite got that experience yet of kind of having that ruthless attitude and kind of that, I'm going to make your life really difficult today to the centre back. You know, when you're playing as an older, experienced player, you go, how can I make your life as hard as possible, even if I don't get the ball? That's what we think about all the time. Whereas I think for them, it's very much like, well, she's got the ball, what am I going to do here? Instead of going, do you know what, I'm just going to take you there. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I'm going to make you run an extra 10 yards. So, you know, I think that's what they're kind of missing at the moment. But it was a good game, but it was a very chaotic, frantic game, I would say. There was not much control in the game. There wasn't anyone. I remember I came into the game thinking, right, okay, you're coming in, get involved, get the ball, try and calm us down a little bit. I quickly realised that was not what I was going to do in the game. I was like, you're just going to have to run. You're going to have to run. You're going to have to block things. You're going to have to just do what you can. And we all know that that's probably not one of my biggest strengths in terms of my defensive way of playing. But I mean, I just came in, I thought, you've just got to do a job here. You've got to see the game out. You've got to do what you can. So yeah, it was an interesting game to watch from the sideline. And then I came into it and I was like, oh my God, like, we just have to get through these last 20 minutes. And we managed to do it. And it was a really important win for us, of course, you know, after we struggled a little bit to pick up points. Now we've got 7 points in the last 3 games. So yeah, the mood in the building is a lot higher.
And it should be the fact that you kept a clean sheet, because it's only the second time this season where London City Lionesses haven't scored. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it? And like you say, your goalkeeper, Nadozi, I mean, she pulled out this absolutely kind of epic fingertip save to keep out Nikita Paris, a couple of other great saves as well throughout the game. I mean, she seems to have really settled into life in the WSL.
Yeah, she has. And look, she's a fantastic shot stopper. You know, she's obviously come from a team that played in France and played probably a different way of playing that we are playing. So she's learning a lot as well. She's learning the way that we want to play, and she's learning about the WSL. She's learning about the forwards that she's coming up against. And yeah, she's pulling out some really, really big saves and probably keeping us in games quite a lot. So it's nice to have her in the goal, especially when she's making them saves. But yeah, I mean, I think our whole back line were great the other day in terms of they were stepping in, they were aggressive. They were marking well in the box. They weren't letting them get shots off. We were blocking on the edge of the box. So I think when you have a whole group of players, and including the goalkeeper, who are just doing everything they can to stop the ball going in the net, it's really positive to see that, you know, the work you're doing and the work that you're doing for each other is allowing you to get them 3 points and to get a clean sheet.
If the backline could have a shaky performance, though, that could be quite handy, because Brighton playing Chelsea next. And look, I don't want another draw or a loss. I'm just saying. Thank you so much to both of you, as ever, for being brilliant. Thank you to you guys for listening. And we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.